Hello, yes, Danhausen here. You're listening to Wrestling Cheers. Listen to the full thing or be cursed. Also like and subscribe or whatever may have you and be cursed. Or be cursed, whatever.
Taking your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
And welcome back to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you're very nice and very evil. This is Wrestling Cheers. We'd like to talk about things on the Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we even have interviews along the way. This is a review of AIW's A Touch of Evil. I am your host, Justin Summers, and Wrestling Cheers is brought to you by the Trending Topics Network and Midwest Territory. Please rate, review, and subscribe your ever listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com, and we have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Like I said, this is a review of A Touch of Evil. Did I start that off by saying preview or review?
You said review the first time. You're good.
Okay, and we also have Charly Butters.
Hey, yo.
Yeah, little note for everybody that, yes, I put it on social media. There was a little bit of technical difficulties this week in recording, not with Butters. Butters is stepping in, basically, and helping review this show, and everything seems to be working a whole lot better. It's just been a crazy fucking week. But anyway, let's talk about A Touch of Evil. Your thoughts coming into this show, Butters?
I was excited to see Hausen back, and we had some interesting stuff going on with the Absolute and Intense titles, and kind of getting back to seeing some of the bigger names in AIW and going up against some of the younger members of the roster. So it was nice to have that mix again instead of just purely student. So that was good.
How was your interaction with Hausen this time?
Oh, it was great. It's always great. We got to, talk for a little bit while he was in between talking to people. So we just kicked around some ideas for stuff and just BS'd about, stuff and things.
It's crazy to think of like the line that he had for this show.
Yeah, it was longer than Terry Runnels' line, and he was nicer than Terry Runnels. So, I mean, that's win-win right there.
For me, coming into this show, he was like the one person. It's weird because like for me, it's like, oh, or even you too. It's like, oh, I'm going to meet Hausen. I'm going to go see Hausen again. I'm going to have an interaction with him again. And before I got to that, I do want to give a huge shout out to Dominic Guarini. As I was waiting in line and about ready to come in, he told me that Kayfabe Collectibles, who I knew they were there, but they had the Chase Macho Man figure, and that was the only figure left from that set that I needed. Oh, there's other ones that I would quote need, but like of what I want, that's the only other one I needed, and I thought I would never get it, or not at a decent price. So once Dom told me that, I immediately hit up Kayfabe Collectibles and asked if I could pay for it right now. But by the time he got back to me, I was inside, but I ran to my seat, threw my stuff down, ran back to fucking Kayfabe Collectibles and grabbed it, and he actually put it aside for me. So I'm really happy to have that. So that was the first thing off my list. And then to see Hausen right as the line was starting to form, like me and Stacy were both there, talked to him for a little bit. I got both of my second micro brawlers signed, and I got another picture with him. It's weird because I've gotten like a lot with him, but I don't know. I go back to like when I first became a fan, I thought people that got multiple pictures of wrestlers, like kind of weird, but there's some people that I'm like, every time I see you, I want to get one, or I want to get one every so many months. I think we got to the point with Hausen where it's like, you're back at AIW, I want another picture. And that was definitely my reasoning for it.
Yeah, I didn't get a picture with him. I probably should have, but I knew I'm going to see him in October, so I'm looking forward to that. I also want to shout out Kayfabe Collectibles because I got my Pentagon Jr. finally. After going back and forth on maybe getting him, they had him for a reasonable price, so I snatched him up real quick. And I also got some nice Danhausen socks, so I'm going to wear those to your wedding. So
I need to buy those because I have 2 pairs of the Smart Mark Sterling ones, and that's only because I got one in a box and the other one I was buying a micro brawler off somebody, and like that was part of the deal. And I'm like, well, I just want the micro brawler, so I'll pay that price and get that too. Like he wasn't separating them, so I've been kind of wanting to get one. I should have got him. Maybe he'll still have some in October, and I could potentially get some there if I'm able to go to that. Was there anything else you bought at the show?
Well, I brought my Danhausen comic book and the Dark Light clothing mask that he had made. Got those signed, and I didn't let them dry, so they got smudged, so I'm going to have those redone. But I also bought a Bam Bigelow figure from you.
Exactly. I was waiting for that one.
Yeah. I know it's going to make you wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, picked up some for you and Zach both.
Yeah, we got to see Zach.
Mr. Big Website Man.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for you, you had to pay. He didn't have to pay me. But when he gifted me the Macho Man without me saying anything, it's like, all right, I kind of owe you one.
Yeah, it's all good. He's Bam sitting over on my shelf with my Johnny Gargano and my Pentagon. So
Bam Bam is right next to the Christian fan takeover hanging on my wall, but it's in a spot to where it might eventually move.
I think one of Pritchard's podcasts is doing Bam Bam this week or next week. I'm going to check that out.
I can't remember if I've said it here on the show. I think I've said it on Twitter. Like, imagine if all of the Triple Threat was still alive. Like,
that'd be awesome, dude. Like, Bam Bam was like one of the guys that I would have loved to have seen in AIW. I think he would have had a fucking incredible match with so many of the guys, and that's even if he wasn't if he wasn't super mobile because he's older. I think he'd still have a good go with a lot of guys.
Or even if like he just came in for a spot, autograph signing for him or any of them. Like, I mean, not any of them, but like them as a whole.
Right.
Like, obviously Shane Douglas, he's done a lot, but not getting the same with Bam Bam and Candido. Like, we're getting the closest thing we can get to Candido next week with Sonny coming in. I just realized that, which I got to make sure it's still in my closet. If it's not, I'm going to have to pick something else, but I think I kept it in my closet. I'm going to wear my Chris Candido shirt that I bought off of her back in like 2009 or 10. And that's like one of my favorite shirts. I don't wear it a lot because I think it might be a little thicker, but every time I've worn it to like a wrestling show, I've gotten compliments. Like, I wore it to the ECW arena for House of Hardcore, and like every ECW legend that's seen it like made some sort of comment. I remember Tommy Dreamer in particular. He like seen it and like put his hands on my shoulder, and he was like, great fucking shirt. But yeah, Bam Bam and Candido, very, very much missed.
Yep.
So there was another thing like before the show, and you were there for it when we got our tickets scanned, or QR codes for our tickets. I realized that I didn't buy front row. Well, I did, but I bought front row stage, and my reaction, and you could attest this, was like, oh shit, I didn't mean to.
Yep.
So that was a fun part of my night of being there. I don't know if I were to buy those tickets again. Like, there's nothing against them. Like, number one, there's only, I think, 6 tickets. I think it's 8. I think there's 4 on each side. And it's great and all, but you're going to have to try to beat 7 other people to buy those tickets. And you're going to have to beat those same people to get a good spot. There's not necessarily a bad spot, but I definitely want a guardrail. And I kind of felt bad because there was me right at the guardrail. There was an open spot. And then there was like a couple on the last 2 seats. And I had like 2 guys come up to me and they're like, hey, is anybody sitting in this seat? I'm like, no. He's like, well, we bought our tickets together and there's only 1 seat left over there and 1 seat over there. Can you move? And I'm like, normally if it's anywhere else, I'd be like, no, I don't care. Like, oh yeah, I'll move somewhere else. But I've never sat up there. I've never sat by the guardrail like that. And I was like, dude, I was like one of the first ones in here. and you guys are strolling in lane going like, hey, can we get your seats? Sorry, no. Like I even told him like, sorry, like I'm going to stay. But I think what they end up doing, I think they either convinced someone else on the other side to move, or they just pulled up a chair on the other side. I'm not 100% sure.
Huh. Well, I can tell you that they had extra seats in the front row down in the pit because holy shit, were we squashed in there. There were no aisles again. It was miserable.
That's something when it comes to Odeon seating that I'm not a huge fan of. Actually, there was only one time that Odeon seating was great. That was pandemic shit. Like I hate saying that, but it was like, oh, you know, if you bought a 1 ticket front row or, you know, 2 front row, like those 2 seats were somewhere and then there was space on either side of you. So even if me and you were to get our seats together and we were having to, you know, sit right next to each other and they put those chairs like right next to each other, we would be able to have enough room to where we'd be like, all right, we'll move it about a foot apart and, you know, that'll be fine by us. But that's been a thing for a while at the Odeon. And then when you get whoever does it, we're putting out chairs and then they don't leave an aisle. That makes it a huge clusterfuck to get back to the front row. Like if you're going back and forth during intermission, if you're going to get beer or any type of alcohol or food, where you kind of don't want to move after that because of like how congested everything gets and having to try to like wade through everybody.
Yeah, I basically had to go towards the stage and then go all the way around to get in and out because it was just, there was nothing. It was just all oval shaped or horseshoe shaped around with no aisles. I was like, oh, God.
The only thing I'll say in the Odeon and AIW's defense, but I think it's AIW who puts out the seats, is even if they were to leave an aisleway, most of the time, people still end up sitting in those spots anyway. And that's what sucks. Because they'll move a chair in that aisleway to where you are basically getting the same seating. I don't like it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's most of the like pre-match stuff because we did have one pre-show match, but other than that, I can't really think of anything going on. I didn't meet Terry. Doesn't seem like I missed much.
No, I just watched her be like super mean to all the students and stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'm good on that.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying last week of I didn't have anything for her to sign, but on top of it, like I'm not that huge on Terry. Like I'm more fond of Sunny, so I'm really excited that she's going to be here next week. But I truly, even after that point with Sunny, I probably won't care anymore. It's going to be like I met her, I got my stuff signed, I'm good. I've been waiting for this for like 10 years and it finally fucking happened. But after that, fuck if I care, because I know people aren't really happy about that book. I mean, that's a story for another episode. Let's get into the pre-show match. Started things off before the show with Cree Fudo, which I believe that's how you pronounce it, or is it Frito? No, not Frito. Fudo.
You said it right.
Okay. Versus Tommy Kyle Dean. I did like that this was kind of an opportunity for Cree to show his face. Like he's been someone that, you know, moved to the AIW school. I don't know if it was like pre-pandemic or mid-pandemic, whatever it was. I know he's wrestled in the area for a while, but it's the first time in front of the AIW crowd and, you know, just seeing him and do his thing in the ring. What were your thoughts on this match?
I don't remember anything from it.
I don't remember as much either, but it's exactly kind of what I expected it to be. TKD getting more time to shine as this new version of himself. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but he's changing some things. And it needs to be mentioned, his new trunks. I like the new look. Minor wardrobe change, but it's something different, and I noticed it.
Yeah, as he's like expanding this character and like subtly changing things here and there as each time we see him, it's really cool to see him progress that way. And it wasn't a knock on the match that I don't remember anything. I just have terrible memory sometimes. Like I remember this match happening, and I remember TKD hitting some really good kicks and thinking, oh damn, that sounded really good. But I don't remember like anything else really much from the match. But I do know like who won. So I mean, yeah.
Well, it was TKD getting the win via pinfall. I know I don't really have any other memory of kind of this match. I think I was just more happy that Kree had a match and we got to see more of TKD. Let's move on to the first match of the actual show. Started things off with Chuck Stone and Arthur MacArthur bulking season versus To Infinity and Beyond, Colin Delaney and Cheech. I didn't mention this earlier, but one thing that I did love about having that particular seat was I got a lot of good pictures, especially of the entranceway, because if you're anywhere else kind of ringside, it's not the same. Maybe if you're directly across, but you still got the ring in your way. But actually having the like up close view of the entrances, I thought was pretty fun.
Yeah, the stage is really good if you take photos. It's like the best place to be for everything because you're right there in all the action. So
I'll get into it later. Someone who took advantage of that, and they were the only person. But this was a fun match to start off with. You know, To Infinity and Beyond is the measuring stick for tag teams in AIW, and bulking season has really come more into their own this year, I feel, compared to last year. It felt like for a while it was just like they were two dudes that were thrown together that were kind of, I don't want to say similar, but you know, they had something that they could work with. But now like it feels more of a team, and like individually too, both Chuck and Arthur have shined. And love them both for it. What were your thoughts on this match?
I really liked Colin Delaney's gear. They weren't like regular trunks. They were kind of like loose shorts. So I thought that was cool. This match really got to show off bulking season as a solidified team against a major established team in To Infinity and Beyond. So that was really cool to see. But also like To Infinity is just, you know, leagues above where bulking season is. So like they obviously bulking season has come a long way, but they still have a long way to go to be on the same level as To Infinity and Beyond. Because it really seemed like they basically had an answer for everything bulking season threw at them and then some. One of my favorite things, though, is that I've noticed, like, watching more To Infinity and Beyond matches, is when Colin will yell Cheech, and then Cheech just comes out of nowhere with, like, a flying drop kick or a forearm. And I really want that to turn into a thing, like some type of, like, promo segment where, like, Colin's just, like, arguing with somebody over some food at a diner, and he just yells Cheech, and Cheech runs in and drop kicks the person that he's arguing with. Like, I think that'd be really funny. That's just my own silly self coming up with stuff, but yeah, it's just I noticed that a lot in their matches. Colin will yell Cheech, and Cheech comes in with like a big move. Like it just cracked me up every time it was happening during that match. It was like 3 or 4 times, and so yeah, I like that. And the match overall was pretty decent for like a 10-minute match. So hopefully down the road, if bulking season stays together and stays healthy, we'll see a rematch, and maybe we'll see more out of it.
That is one thing that kind of needs to be, I don't want to say talked about in this match, but it's something that did happen. Arthur MacArthur did suffer an injury. I don't know if it's been talked about publicly, what exactly it was on the AW podcast. It's been a couple of days since I've listened to it, and I don't want to just come out and say it, but with Arthur MacArthur injured and them not going to be on next week's show, you know, we might not see anything from them till Winchester or maybe Akron.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit before we see them back. So hopefully Arthur takes some time off to heal up and 100% and doesn't do anything crazy in the meantime. Gets himself healthy again.
I would say bulking season's one of my favorite tag teams in AIW, but in all honesty, I kind of like almost every tag team in AIW, so it not that would be disingenuous, but it, I don't know, to me it wouldn't feel special because I love so many of these tag teams right now.
I mean, when we really look at it, I mean, we're AIW diehards, so like 95% of the roster we thoroughly enjoy. So it's hard to be critical of them when you enjoy and, you know, have a good time with them at these shows. So it's I totally understand where you're coming from with being disingenuous, because I mean, yeah, like literally the entire tag division's awesome. I don't really think there's anybody that is super terrible. I mean, I know that they're teaming Brian Carson and Casey Carrington together now, and I don't think they're terrible. I think that they're just starting out, like building whatever this is going to be for them, even if it's just like a temporary, like just so they have a spot on the card type thing. But even they're not terrible. So, I mean, you get quality competitors when you go to AIW. There's nothing that's like shitty indie or anything like that about AIW. So even like the lowest people on the card are going to have a really decent match. So
I think I genuinely like everybody in AIW, especially now, because there was one person I didn't necessarily care for, and they're not in AIW now. So I can now say, yeah, pretty much I like everybody.
Yeah. So like I said, it makes it kind of hard to like see the flaws in certain things. So that's just kind of one of those things of unfortunately being too close to it, but it's kind of hard not to be when you have that atmosphere and that environment that AIW kind of breeds. So, I mean, we all go to after parties together. We all, see each other a couple times a month. It's inevitable for that kind of thing to happen. So
hell, for this weekend, for some of us, we saw each other 3 days in a row.
Yeah, which was nice. I like those long weekends like that where you get to catch up the next day, talk, a little bit more when they're not so busy. Like I got to catch up with Arthur and talk with him for a little bit after during Rager and stuff like that. And again, I got to see him a little bit at Old. So yeah, it was nice to kind of be able to see everybody and on to the next one. So it was nice. There was a little time to, kick it and talk and stuff. So
yeah, it was definitely a fun weekend. Unfortunately, it wasn't as fun for bulking season. I mean, despite the injury too, but it was Cheech pinning Chuck Stone for the win. And let's move on to our next match. Next up, we had Chase Oliver versus Lee Moriarty. And this was definitely a fun match. You got Chase, who is getting more time to shine since his return. Since his tag team with Trey, which seems like forever ago. And this was a great opportunity for him to go up against Lee Moriarty. And I want to say this is who I was talking to. And Chase said like this was his highest profile opponent yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge moment for Chase. And Chase is the one person that took advantage of me being there in that spot. He was going out of the ring, taking Lee to the top of the post, and as he's getting out of the ring, he slaps me on the leg and he says, "Get this." And I was like, okay. Threw my camera in video mode and took a video. Wasn't the best because I didn't zoom all the way out. I was at the normal setting. I didn't zoom out more, so I think that kind of took away from it. But still, I'm right fucking there. So I was surprised nobody took advantage of that. But Chase was really smart. What were your thoughts on this match?
They say like styles make fights. When this was announced, like people got really hyped on it and we're like, oh, this is going to be a match of the year contender. And we're really excited for Chase. And, obviously Lee is the gold standard with a lot of stuff, especially coming from AIW. So like a lot of people had big expectations going into this match. And I think that put a lot of pressure on both guys, and it wasn't going to be that type of match that they were going to go for. So I think that what we got out of it, it was a little bit shy of, a 10-minute match. I think it was like 8 minutes or something like that. It was good for what it was. I'd like to see it go a little bit longer. The styles definitely clashed a little bit. Lee being more of a grounded guy with a little bit of lucha in there, and Chase being very much a high flyer and strong style type guy. So they had some good segments there. There was some good stuff in there, but I feel like it didn't gel as well as I thought it would. And overall, I thought the match was pretty decent. I wouldn't go like match of the year or anything like that. I'd like to see them go again. Maybe give them a little, like some type of stipulation to it, a 3 falls, something like that. Give them something to work with. But I mean, this was a pretty decent match. Like this is second match of the night, and you got these two guys in here just going crazy. So wasn't bad.
According to Cage Match, and I mean this is according to Cage Match, not Ref Jayhawk. the unofficial timekeeper of the Go for Broke episodes, but Cage Match has it at 8 minutes and 29 seconds.
Yeah, so it's like it was like a sprint. So it was kind of like they got a lot of stuff in. Lee being technical, Chase again, like I said, high flying, strong style. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite match on the card. I know it was a lot of people's favorite match on the card. I can understand why, but it wasn't my favorite on the card. Obviously I like both guys a lot, so it feels terrible to say that it's just a match when it's Lee Moriarty and Chase Oliver, but I think that's because AIW spoils us with some of the stuff we get. So to me, this is just a match, but to like somebody that doesn't get this all the time, this is like this would be like saying like when people would see AJ Styles for the first time. Other people that have seen him a bunch of times would be like, oh, it's just an AJ Styles match. And other people would be like, this is the greatest thing in the world. So like, I'm probably jaded in that aspect of that this was just a match, but there was a lot of great stuff in it. And for a first timer, they'd probably really enjoy this match. But I mean, I've seen so much from AIW that this really just kind of didn't stick out as much. I think maybe some people wanted it to.
Yeah, it necessarily wasn't my favorite match on the card. I'm going to say maybe within my top 5.
Oh, it's definitely a top match for me on the show.
Yeah.
But it's probably number 5.
I have to sit down and rank them, but I know it's definitely not my number 1, but we'll get to what my number 1 was later. Any other thoughts on Chase and Lee?
I'd like to see it again down the road.
Yeah. Give these two a little bit more time or something like that, or whatever it may be. They could probably come up with another match.
Yeah.
It was Chase pinning Lee for the win. Let's move on to our next match. Next up, we started off with Brian Carson and Casey Carrington coming out and basically issuing an open challenge, which was answered by Pretty Boy Smooth and Jocelyn Navarro. And this match wasn't very long, but it was just throwing it out there. It was Smooth pitting Casey for the win. This match is literally like under 3 minutes. I thought
this was like it.
I was gonna say that I thought that this being like kind of a match that comes up out of nowhere and have it be pretty quick was pretty fun, pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, having an impromptu match like this is always fun. It's a nice little surprise on the card. I'm really curious how what's going on between Casey and Brian Carson. Like, I kind of joked the first time we saw them team together, because Brian Carson's broke from the Go for Broke stuff, if maybe he's Casey's butler or, maybe he's mentoring Casey. I don't know what that connection is just yet, or there may be nothing, and it may just be like just team together so that you guys can have a match type deal. But I do love 40 Acres, and I loved getting to see all the stuff that, all the tits from them. Jocelyn, of course, smacking the hell out of Brian Carson. PB Smooth, again, just beating the shit out of Casey Carrington. I'll never not enjoy that. So, yeah, this was quick and dirty, and it was a nice little surprise.
Yep. Let's move on to the next match. Next up, we have Ethan Wright versus Filthy Tom Lawler. This match started off with Filthy Tom taking off his shorts. Still had another pair of shorts underneath it. And gave it to...
Of course he did. That's why we chanted for him to take those shorts off, because we knew he had the tights on underneath.
Yeah, and then he gave it to a girl at ringside.
Yeah, just a fan.
It's like the adult version of Bret Hart. Kind of heard some mixed reviews on this match. I definitely still want to see some more from Ethan Wright, but I don't think this was a necessarily a bad match.
So, yeah, I know there's certain members of the Wrestling Cheers community that absolutely hated this match and hate Ethan Wright. I'm still not 100% sold on Ethan Wright. I'm still waiting to see what we're going to get out of him. But him being just going back to being the student of Harley Race kind of thing was kind of a bummer. I was really hoping the Academy Killer thing would somehow continue creatively. Going up against Tom Lawler, former Absolute Champion. This was actually definitely in my top 2 matches of the night. I really, really enjoyed this match. I don't know why. It just for some reason I was really hooked into it, and they really went back and forth, and it got me invested in the match, and I really enjoyed this match. Yeah, I had the complete opposite feeling of some of the other people. I thought this was probably one of the better matches of the night, and I don't know why. Like, I really can't put my finger on it, because I watched it again the next day before we went to Rager, and like I got sucked into it again, sitting there watching, and I'm like, holy crap! I don't know why. It just, Tom Lawler's just that good, and I mean, played out well off Ethan Wright. It was a straight up wrestling match. There wasn't tomfoolery, with weapons and shit. It was just them two going at it, and the story they told I thought was good. Sometimes that's all you need at AIW. You get that nice mix.
Yeah, I think if it's anybody, it's got to be Filthy Tom. Not taking anything away from Ethan Wright, but there is just kind of a standard when it comes to a Filthy Tom match. I can't think of an actual bad Filthy Tom match. Some people might say this match, but I don't think it was bad. It was Filthy Tom getting the pin for the win, but after the match, Filthy Tom got attacked and was what looked like to be the Mass Marauder from the Go for Broke series.
Yeah, the Mass Marauder showed up and handed out a beatdown to Filthy Tom out of nowhere.
I'm really happy there is a payoff, and we'll get to that later. But with the fact that the Mass Marauder wasn't unmasked at this point, I was kind of like, what the fuck? I'm like, this better not be a thing that's going to last like a couple of shows. We got to figure out who the fuck this is, but luckily we don't.
Yeah, it didn't last, but like I've been kind of waiting, because like I think one of the big things that I feel like after these shows, like I know like we're all still in like the will they, won't they phase of like what's going on with COVID and everything. So it's like, do we start doing, getting feuds back and going, or do we really hold off until next year and just start building next year? And I feel like just doing these super cards with, mix and match talent on it, while they're fun and they're a night out and they're, great to see the talent do different things and stuff like that, it's still missing storylines. And I feel like that really glaringly shows to me right now that like we just don't have those right now with AIW, and I'm so used to us having them. So things leading up to other things, things tying together, like trying to figure things out. I missed that fun of it a little bit, and I really hope that we kind of, maybe start seeing, if things keep going the way they've been going, that maybe we'll start seeing some more stuff build out of the next couple of shows and kind of get back to a build, because we got Hell on Earth coming up. That's our first major show coming up, so we don't really have a ton of feuds going outside of the Rip City versus PME. There's not a whole lot built so far, so we have a couple shows left to build some stuff. We got 3 shows before that, and there's a long hiatus after that third show before we get into Hell on Earth. So we really got to figure out what we're building to, if Hell on Earth is going to be in a new location, in a bigger location, and if it's going to sell like we hope it does. We got to get some storylines going here, get some people invested in it. So I'm really hoping we start seeing more. I was really hoping that this was going to be the start of it, but obviously, as we saw, this just kind of build us into the next day at Rager, which was still nice, and I'm still very happy that we had some type of build going into Rager. But I was hoping for something a little bit longer. So
very impromptu, but let's talk about this, because I don't think it's been talked about on this show. You had a theory for the Mass Marauder early on, because the very first opponent for Wes Barkley on the first episode of Go for Broke was the Mass Marauder.
Yes.
Your prediction was wrong, which, if anybody's confused, he hasn't never publicly said it, but it was wrong. But I'll give you credit. You were headed in the right direction. You were just misled. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so I was thinking that maybe Wes and our Absolute Intense champion, Josh Bishop, were kind of playing around, and, this Mass Marauder character maybe was somebody under the mask that was just helping Wes get those wins, build those bucks to their end. Unfortunately, that did not come to be. and things kind of went a different direction. But I was kind of curious if he was maybe going to face a series of masked people and pick up easy wins over them to advance his cause, to advance the Rip City Shooters cause. That obviously wasn't the idea, though. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I thought things were going.
Yeah, so when that unmasking happened, or actually even when this happened, we'll get to the unmasking later, but I was kind of like, oh, fucking Charlie might have almost kind of had it, but not exactly. All right, let's get into the next match. Next up, we had Kaplan versus Mance Warner, and one of my favorite things about all this, because of everything that happened at the end of the previous match, I didn't have everything tweeted out yet, and when Mance's music hit, I just literally went back to start rewriting the other tweet, and I had enough time, I believe it was, to by the time Mance came out, I had it tweeted, so I thought it was funny. But yes, this match was fucking crazy and fucking fun. I don't know what it is about either of these guys. Kaplan is insane and fun to watch, and the same can be said about Mance. What were your thoughts on this madness?
Yeah, these, like, I love that Kaplan, like, had to wait for Mance to come out, and it was good to be able to do the long Mancer entrance once again. This was, yeah, we knew this was going to be a bunch of fuckery, and they did not disappoint. There was a lot of crazy shit. At one point, Kaplan went for that split-legged moonsault, and Mance threw a fucking chair at him while he was upside down, which was probably one of the grossest things I've ever seen live. It was there was a look of horror and disgust on my face after. It was so crazy. This was a brutal war, and Kaplan's just proven that he's ready to be in that realm. He is a tough motherfucker.
Yeah. With these two, just God, it's so much fucking fun. Easily too, like two of the most popular people in AEW.
Oh yeah, I think Kaplan definitely needs to get out and expand, because he's gonna blow up everywhere. He's just got something about him. He's got that it factor that makes you want to watch him do some crazy shit when he shows up. So I think he's got a show this weekend at a No Ring show in Pittsburgh. So that'll be really fucking cool that he's getting some work in Pittsburgh. Hopefully, that shows up somewhere we can see it. But yeah, Kaplan needs to be booked everywhere. He's awesome.
In this insane madness, Mance hit Kaplan with a sledgehammer and pinned him for the win. But after the match, they did shake hands. And then we went to intermission. But we came back to, obviously, another match. We came back to the main event. Duke Davis and Gannon Jones Jr. versus Mikey Montgomery and Eric Taylor, the Bitcoin Boys. Sadly, with this match, too, also another injury. Literally, we started the show proper with an injury in a match, and the same thing with the second half. But I love the main event, and seeing the Bitcoin Boys having to go toe to toe with these two, and a different David versus Goliath type thing, but so much fun to watch. What are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, the Bitcoin Boys really held their own in there. I will say that the main event's music gets me fucking hyped every time they come out. Like, I could run through a brick wall after hearing their entrance music, especially at the Odeon. It sounds fucking sweet, and I'm just hyped as shit when they come out. But Eric Taylor, Mikey Montgomery, they really showed how far they've come. They gave a hell of a battle with the main event, and they didn't look out of place. I do know our buddy EJ Gold had messaged me at one point and said, why is Duke Davis facing a child when he was facing Mikey Montgomery, which got a chuckle out of me. But I mean, Eric and Mikey held their own against the main event, and this is another one I'd love to see them go to run that back again, because this was really fucking good. This was really fucking good. This is a good tag team match. Main event are, almost elite tier tag team in indie wrestling right now. they've had a look at, on AEW and that kind of thing. And I don't see them sticking around on the indies much longer. But I love that we have them in AIW while they are here and working with guys like Eric and Mikey and making them better. So I enjoy that.
Yeah. I think I got some really great shots too. Cause I'm like looking at the Twitter, like I got some good shots of these guys coming out. TME, the main event. It was Mikey getting the pin versus Duke. Not exactly sure how Mikey got injured in this match. I know I want to sit down and rewatch it, just try to figure out what it was. But he's a trooper to go through that entire match. Or not the entire match, but whenever it happened. Because I got a picture here after the match and like his hands in the air, throwing the bird up on both hands. So dude's a trooper. Dude is fucking stronger than some people may give him credit for.
Yeah, man. He's definitely willing to put his body on the line for everything. I mean, I've kind of seen that and the double shot of shows when we first came back. He got put through tables and really busted his ass in that match, and that really impressed me right there. And I was like, all right, he's in that zone to do big things. So
hopefully Mikey has a speedy recovery. But now, if we get Bitcoin Boys, we're going to get more Eric Taylor. And I'm for a little bit more time for Eric to shine. Nothing against Mikey at all. But I kind of think, like, going back to their debut match, Mikey had the biggest hype because a lot of people knew who he was more from the student class. And I'm excited for a little bit more spotlight put on Eric. I think these two as a team, especially too, like going back to a lot of the promos that these guys have done or just Eric's done, like he's got something to him this year that is fucking awesome. I mean, besides his fucking abs and shit, dude's cut up, but like the promos in the hot tub drinking milk, it's fucking great. I love it.
Yeah, I really liked the promo they did together, setting up their showdown with Bulking Season that unfortunately we got a singles match out of instead of the full-on tag match for Wrestle Rager. But that video had me fucking rolling. They kept talking about going to Chuck E. Cheese and shit. It was great. I loved it. It's really funny. So they definitely are expanding their promo game. They definitely have some comedic chops there for stuff. It's really fun to see them two play off each other. And if we have to have Mikey take a break and Eric step up, I'm excited for that too. I mean, Eric is obviously proved himself. He had that match with Dom that was really fucking good, and so I mean, he can go. So
all right, let's move on to the next match. Next up, we had Levi Everett versus Matt Justice. I think my only nitpick about this match is maybe it was a little bit too close on the card to Kaplan versus Mance, because it kind of felt the same, but not like 100%, but still, I love Levi. I love Matt, especially this is the first time we've seen Matt since Hello Cleveland, and is this something you might be interested in? Feels like it's been a while, so I at least enjoyed that part of it. And also too, the return of Stacy catching Matt.
Yeah, it's always a good time. Levi showing his more serious side with this. Obviously, Justice coming back from his little break with Fonz. This match, I was expecting all the craziness. We got Levi doing crazy shit, which is always really cool to see. Hopefully, he doesn't do this more often. I don't like seeing Levi go crazy with all the weapons and stuff. While it's fun, it definitely is taking a toll on him. But that's obviously his choice, whatever. But I do enjoy his more fun side of his character and that kind of stuff. So it is what it is with that. This match was what I expected, them going crazy with weapons and just beating the holy hell out of each other to entertain us, and that's what we got out of it.
Yeah, the serious Levi is something that is interesting. I mean, I love fun Levi, and I think getting serious Levi in the middle of the match is always actually fun too. But we're getting like these matches with Levi where it's like he's just like, all right, I'm like, we're getting down to business. No bullshit.
Yeah, it's something he's trying to evolve his character from being like the comedy guy to being a more serious worker, and that's cool. I support it. I think it's, something fun that he can break out. I don't personally want to see it all the time. Like I said, I really enjoy his more hard hitting but like comedy character, but he's still hard hitting and kind of does all the same stuff. It's just he's more fan friendly, I guess would be the correct thing. Like I just want him to churn the butter in the middle of the fucking ring. Okay, that's what I want. I don't like serious Levi leaving it on the ramp, and then I don't get to yell churn and watch him churn the butter in the fucking ring. I don't like that. I like watching him churn the butter. That's all I'm saying. I just miss him churning the butter.
It was Matt Justice pinning Levi for the win. Let's move on to our next match. Next up, we had Derek Dillinger versus Danhausen. And, Danhausen used to having a director with him, and since, he's going up against a director, he wanted to bring out his own director, and he brought out Marlena, aka Terry Reynolds. And before she came out, it didn't connect with me, but I could smell the cigar. So once she came out, I was like, oh yeah, I've been smelling that for a couple minutes. I mean, should have figured she was going to come out, but still.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for like, Eddie Only, or, maybe Magnum, somebody else from the production, to kind of go in his corner. But we got Marlena, which was cool, I guess, for, people that are into that. She was at ringside talking and having a good time with fans. And she did make the remark that Danhausen has terrible timing with his tequila dance, so which I thought was really funny. Overall, I thought the match was a lot of fun. I know some people were disappointed and thinking that it wasn't more, wrestling and hard hitting. And I'm like, well, that's not what the fans came to, see. This wasn't, this was more of a commercial Danhausen match than a hardcore Danhausen wrestling doing all the stuff. And I kind of figured that's what we'd get out of him with where he's at now in wrestling, that we won't see the old version of Danhausen hitting, all the different suplexes and all that kind of stuff, and coming out to Rammstein and all that. I was kind of bummed that he came out to the new music and not Rammstein, because I miss the Rammstein music. But I get why. Like he's got this whole new thing for all the new fans, and I mean he drew a hell of a crowd for AIW, because I know there's a lot of people that were there to see Danhausen. So that was really cool to be able to see him and all these new fans just going crazy for all his, stuff that he does. And Derek looked good. I love Derek. This is a okay spot for him, kind of wrap up things with the old production and move on to bigger things, maybe some blue things.
Derek pinned Danhausen for the win, but after the match, Marlena hit Derek with his own clapper. And I didn't realize it till the next day. I think she broke it.
Oh, really?
Unless it was something different, because I'd seen the clapper at Rager and there was black tape around it. But I do know he's had clappers broke before and he's had to go buy new ones. So maybe because it was Rager, he brought a broken one, but Terry could easily broke it too. I'm not 100% sure. I'll need clarification from Derek on that one. I think to me, this was my favorite match. It was Danhausen back in AIW. It was Derek in the semi-main event. Even though it was short, according to Cage Match, it was only 11 minutes, 1 second, but it was like the right amount of time. And I think especially too being sandwiched in between the matches that it made sense for this to be a little shorter than the other two. Yeah.
I'll have to talk to Derek about buying one of them clappers off him.
An old one or a new one?
I don't know. What kind of deal he get? I'll have him and Ziggy sign it and add it to my collection. I got my 8x10 of them and stuff like that. So I was real happy about that. I got to get a frame for that and get that hung up on my tag team wall. So,
ooh, that gives me an idea. I always forget that I have this because it's sitting on my wall above the window behind me. And that's at one point, so many years ago, Derek bought like small clappers and had people sign that. And I have one signed by all of the production at that point.
Oh, nice.
Which literally the only person I would technically be missing from all of the production is Colby Red, because it was
who?
I'm never going to pretend like that didn't happen. It's fucking Colby Red. Colby Red is not Danhausen. Colby Red might wish he was Danhausen, but he's not Danhausen. But so when like those got signed, that's when the production was at its full force. So now I do need to get Ziggy to sign it. Yeah, I totally forget that fucker's up there.
Big Rig Zig.
And there's enough room for her to sign it too.
Yeah, Derek, let's make a little deal ski. Get a hold of me. DM me. Let's come up with something on that.
Maybe he could bring back the Clapper merch. I don't know. Of course, like it's a smaller one compared to... What was that?
Yeah, I want a full-size one used, so...
You want one with...
Give me a full-size one.
You want one with some sniffs left in it.
I don't think there's really any sniffs in a clapper board, but I mean, sure, why not? It's cooler if it's ring used. I mean, you can go back and see it when it was used.
Or what you do is you go buy one and he uses it in a match and you get it afterwards.
Oh, see, now you're thinking. All right. Now we'll see what he says when he sends me a message, or if I send him a message about it. We'll figure something out.
All right, let's move into our main event of the evening. Philly Collins versus Joshua Bishop for the AIW Absolute Intense Championships in an Intense Rules match. This was a big match for Philly. I think his first main event. Pretty sure.
I'm not sure, but I do know that it was one-on-one. No, neither guy came out with their tag partner in tow. They went toe-to-toe for the majority of the match, one-on-one, and they beat the shit out of each other. And just as, Bishop was getting ready to turn the tables on Philadelphia Collins and take him down exit 187, Philly pulled some sneaky stuff out on him, and Wes didn't like that. Wes had to come, right that wrong. And then, Marino came out and hurt poor Wes, and it was just a melee. Crazy, craziness happened.
Which the match ended in no contest because of that. And then out came the Masked Marauder again. Helps attack PME, and he takes off his mask, and it's fucking Brickster.
Ricky Bricks, the return.
I was very happy to see him. Even to the fact that I didn't mention this while I was waiting in line. Fucking the Masked Marauder walks in, and like he's wearing the mask, he's wearing long sleeves, he's wearing sunglasses. The only thing I could see was his dyed hair. And I'll admit, there was one person who I thought it was by the dyed hair, but it didn't make sense that it was going to be him. Especially doesn't make sense knowing some other things, but that's the fact of I kind of thought it was Alex Zane. Because I was just going by the hair. And like I knew he was going to be at Sunny Days, and it turns out like that's going to be his official return. Like we are going to be the first independent show for Alex Zane coming back. But anyway, like that's the only person I thought it would be, and I'm like, there's no way in hell that this is Alex Zane. It would explain why he was going to be on the next show, not counting Rager. But no, it was Brickster. So, like I said, very happy for that, and got to talk to him before Rager. First time him and I have talked in a while, so that was pretty fun. Even to the point of I went to go to the restroom, ran into him, talked for like 15 minutes, and I was like, shit, the show's starting. I have to go back to my seat. I still got to pee. And I couldn't go until fucking intermission. But yeah.
I caught him after the show and bullshitted for a little bit. And it was great to see him again. It's always nice when you see part of the AIW family come back. And, like he was there right as everything kind of shut down. And he did have the match in Indianapolis. But we didn't really get to enjoy him being part of Rip City and get that full story out of him. So it was nice to have him back, and hopefully he'll keep coming back in the meantime and kind of roll into the fold with the promotion. So,
and also too, after Brickster was revealed, Filthy Tom Lawler came out for his revenge. So
yes.
So then it was set up for the next day, Rip City. Also, did you catch Filthy Tom say my fuck up? I think he called him Rip Shitty.
I did catch that. He also said some other very mean things to Brickster, so.
Yeah, I caught Rip shitty, and I'm like, I fucking accidentally say that all the time, and I get called out for it. He actually fucking says it. Not that there's anything bad for filthy Tom Lawler to say it, but I'm like, that to me, it popped me.
Yeah, that's funny.
So the full Rip City shooters versus the filthy Philly Marino experience. And that was our main event this was our main event for this show, but that would be our main event for Wrestle Rager.
Yep.
All right, that's pretty much a show. Any final thoughts on A Touch of Evil?
It was a good time. Definitely hate the parking for the Odeon, and I can't wait to go to the Tadmor Shrine with all their free parking and their spacious seating and their brownie sundaes. But overall, on the rest of the card, it was good stuff. Good to see Danhausen back. Loved being able to catch up with him and get to see everybody have good matches. Hopefully, our buddies Arthur MacArthur and Mikey Montgomery heal up and are able to compete here in the next couple months. And yeah, loved it. Worth the money every time. So this was no exception.
Yeah, I had a great night. I mean, starting it off, getting that Macho Man chase felt awesome. Getting that time with Danhausen too also felt awesome. Sitting in those seats and just experiencing the show just a little bit differently added to my night. And knowing that we would get a show the next night, basically kind of a two-parter, another 2 shows in a row. I think pretty much every AIW show this year, not counting the Canton shows and technically not counting Major Announcement, have been like these back-to-back shows, one way or another. Major Announcement, though, with Toyhio being the next day, it wasn't necessarily the same thing, but it was kind of close, especially if you went to Toyhio.
Yeah, I could see where it would feel like it. Also, one other thing, big shout out to Smokin' Jay's Barbecue. I love the fact that I get to go to AIW now and know that I get to have some smoked mac and cheese and some pulled pork with some spicy barbecue sauce on it, and eat that before I get into the wrestling. It's always a treat. And it's also a treat if you get some when you go to leave so that you have some when you get home after your drive home. That's the fucking pro tip right there. Love you, Brock.
Yes, much love to Brock and Smokin' Jay's Barbecue. I didn't get any for this show. I do kind of like the idea of taking something to go like that. I had 2 favorite places to go for post wrestling show food. And that's 2 places that are by me that I would get it and then eat it when I got home. Steak and Shake and Taco Bell. But the Taco Bell by me, since COVID, has not had the same hours. And I don't know if the other one kind of close to me has good hours or not. But yeah, having that like in your back pocket is kind of smart. I might have to try that for sunny days. We'll see how I feel. Well, we'll see if I can go to an AIW show and not buy a figure, because that's kind of been my theme lately.
Yeah, I would say try to snag it before the main event or like right after, before they go to close up shop. That way and get. Yeah, that's definitely the move, because like my Taco Bell, same thing. Hours are all wonky. Don't want Sheets. Don't want Wendy's. Last time I did Wendy's, the next day I was sick and then I got dehydrated. So that's a no-go for me from now on. So yeah, it's definitely a Smokin' Jay's when you get home kind of deal. So it's clutch.
All right. Any final thoughts or last minute plugs before we go?
Yeah, check out my podcast, IWTV Guide. I got the man Adam Van on this week talking some Jakara from 2015. This week coming up, I'm supposed to have Jay Gold and Austin on. I don't know how that's going to work with Ida hitting New York as bad as it has. So I'm hoping that can still happen. Also later this month, I'm going to have the Submissive and Breedable Ed on, and Dalton and Jay Gold all at the same time. Jay Hawk is going to be at Cauliflower Alley Club, so I will have 2 weeks where I don't have a co-host with me, and it's just whoever's the guest that week. So I believe 1 week it's going to be Orange, the other week it's going to be the Submissive and Breedable Ed, and Dalton and Jay Gold. So it should be a lot of fun.
And of course, you can find myself at JSummers330 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, much like you can find the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook.com/Wrestling Cheers, Twitter.com/Wrestling Cheers, and Instagram.com/Wrestling Cheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com, and we have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Like I mentioned earlier in this show, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, and Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. And all of those links you can find right in the podcast notes in our Linktree link. Also, check out our friends on the Trending Topics Network, such as All Beer Inside, Eurovision Showcase, The Spanish Announce Table, and Wrestling with Altitude. Check out our other podcasting friends, such as Pod Van Dam, Let the Hate Flow Through You, Super Fantastic Podcast, It's Evolution Baby, The IndieCast, Sobros Network, Biff Radio, Gay Marks Podcast, We Like Sports Podcast, Powerbomb Jitsu, The Spotlight Series, Fully Posable, Doing the Favor, Positively Pro Wrestling, IWTV Guide, At Odds with Wrestling, Best in the World Podcast, Marks with Mikes, Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling, This Ends at Prom, and Porch Talk. Check out our other non-podcasting friends such as Thrift Store Jobber, The Savage Dash, The Mystery Men, Redline Radio, Mouse's Wrestling Adventures, VHS Party Tonight on Instagram, Co-Host Wrestling Show, Good Company, Heart of Gold, Toy Hi-Yo Toy Show, Time Capsule Toys, Stay Tough, Smokin' Jay's Barbecue, Wrestle Void, Midwest Territory, Southern Underground Pro, and the official graphic designer of Wrestling Cheers, Moy Boy Designs. That will do it for us here on Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you're the Mass Marauder. Later.
It's the Wrestling Cheers. Get up on your feet, brightening your day in the middle of the week. And you gotta love the show. Yeah, you know it holds a title for the best podcast. Talking wrestling in Ohio. Finishing a cold one, take a load off. We ain't all about the prohibition like Josh, so we cheers. And then we sit back. Other shows are in the trash, kinda like they Nick Stapp. Like the name is Matt Justice, wearing all the gold. Wrestling Cheers is coming to a close. The #1 podcast going in the game. And one day everybody's gonna know the name. It's the Wrestling Cheers. This is Platinum Max, signing off. Ohio, good night. The world, good night. We love you. We'll see you next week.